All right, today is the 3rd of October, and you are listening to Brother Marquise on Fireback Radio. And we have some interesting things happening in the universe in the United States. I don't know what's going on in other countries, but here in the United States, there's a lot of stupidity going on. And one of the things that I ran across on social media, nonetheless, was a gentleman basically telling us that there was going to be a civil war and that basically they were ready. And the gentleman was white. And for those who haven't heard, I'll go ahead and play it for you right now. This is what it sounds like.
It's down to two. We already know this third party, they don't even matter. It's down to two. One or the other is going to win. As a certain supporter, we know which one's going to win. Trump 2020. But there's a thing about it. The reason why I say there's a war coming is because if Trump wins, Black Lives Matter and all them other Antifa dumbasses are going to try to start a war. We ready, don't worry. We ready. We're ready for y'all. But if Biden wins.
And actually it cuts off there, but he basically said if Biden wins, there's going to be some stuff. Now, I don't know about you all, but Brother Marquise is ready. I might only be ready for a few seconds, but you must believe in them few seconds I'm gonna make count. I'm not trying to get myself involved in any kind of nonsense. The problem or the fear or the concern that I have is getting caught up in the crossfire of two warring factions. And if you look a certain way, they may come after you. They just might. It's been known to happen. Over this year, we've heard of people getting caught at the wrong place at the wrong time, getting strung up, getting beat up. And some of these people were actually protesters and they got beat up anyway, even though they were marching with Antifa or the Black Lives Matter or whatever. They got beat up. Innocent people are losing their lives. And today is one of those days where I just want to get the reactions of a certain crew. And I will let them introduce themselves because I can't do enough justice for these gentlemen. These gentlemen here are going to make some waves in the not too distant future. Now, I'm not going to give you the whole kit and caboodle, but I'm just going to say, keep an eye out for these names because you will hear them in the not too distant future. So let's just go around. I have three with me. I'm going to start to the bottom right of the screen. I'll go to Alvin. Alvin, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, because you know me, I'm bad with buttons. That thing only works one way.
No problem. You counting on my fat fingers to go ahead and do the unmuting now, huh? So it's all good. No, my name is Alvin. I'm a member of our new group called 50 Strong. And like you said, we are a new group that has just formed, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But as for myself, I'm a real estate investor, creative finance type of person, help people with any real estate type of problems that they have. And basically, you know, when we were having a meeting the other day, a few days ago, you brought this to us and thought it was an interesting enough subject to go ahead and get together and discuss a little bit further.
All right, very good. Next, we have James. If you can unmute yourself, please do. And for those who don't know, James is actually in his automobile But you know, if you can't reach it, brother, we don't want you swerving. If you can't reach it, don't swerve. Because you're not unmuted yet, but I'll let you slide. I tell you what, get it tight, get it right, and we'll go to Reggie. We'll come back to you in a second there, James.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay. We got you now. Do it again, James. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. I'm James Wilson. I'm part of 50 Strong. I'm vice president. We're a new organization. We just formed up. We have a lot of things in the works for our urban communities, and I thought that this interesting topic that Marquise brought up Thursday night was something what we all need to at least adhere to, take heed to, and we need to discuss. Maybe we could come up with something, some kind of solution or something that we could put out there so other people know. At least other people will have the knowledge of what's going on. And knowledge is power. So I'm going to let Marquise go ahead on with this interview, and let's keep it going.
All right. Next up, Reggie, talk to me. Introduce yourself, please.
Brother Marquise, thank you. First of all, this is a wonderful platform that you have. I've interviewed with you before, and you're bringing the conscious awareness to the public, and I like it because it's rough, rugged, and raw. I'm Reggie Ford, Richmond, Virginia, running for city council in the 8th district. And as Marquise said, we do have a group coming to you soon, 50 strong, and watch out for us. Brother Marquise, back to you.
Yes, sir. And right here, right now, you have the round table of brothers. And this situation here, we have to have a discussion on this, because we need to know what people are thinking. And we need to be able to maybe give guidance, give advice, give encouragement to everybody, not just left or right or black or white. We have to encourage everybody. And this core group of guys right here that I brought together, we're going to have this discussion. Gentlemen, go ahead and unmute yourself. We're going to roll this thing out. I want to get your initial reaction from what you just heard.
Well, Brother Marquise, I'm going to jump out there first. I'm not surprised. We're already polarized. If you get caught in the wrong spot of town now, you may get strung up. So I'm not surprised by the rhetoric that we're hearing. What I am surprised about is the brazen attitude that young man had. I watched the video. He told, be ready, because we already ready. And I believe they are ready. And I know, and I'm not a proponent of this a civil war thing. I think it's been here for a while. I think it is exacerbated. I think a lot more people, like Judge Mathis would say, they got their beer muscles now. You know, they got a leader that they can, endorsing them and feeling good about them. And, I like this show because, I like to keep raw. They've been punks all their lives. So now they got some energy behind them. They want to do something. I'm going to let the other brothers say something, but the thing that young man did say, and I'm not trying to make it black against white, but we all need to be ready. We all need to be ready for whatever happens, whether Biden wins or Trump wins. I'm not a Trump fan, I'm a Biden fan, but no matter who wins, it's going to be some sort of chaos in the streets, so we're going to need some sort of stability from someone. But I'm not surprised about it.
Anybody else?
Well, I ain't surprised either, Red. Well, go ahead, Albert.
I was actually waiting on you to go ahead and start, James. Go right on ahead, brother.
Yeah, because I just pulled up to my place of residence for now, and I want to get out of this car. So yeah, I'm gonna chime in right now. Look, this thing don't surprise me. It's been festering for a long time. It may come to a head if things don't go the way they want them to go. I'm not afraid of anybody who breathed the same air as me. Now, if they was breathing nitroglycerin or something like that, I might be afraid. But fortunately, I know that everybody that's human on this earth breathing oxygen. Okay, that's first and foremost. So God ain't never let me fear no man. I'm sorry, I ain't never had it in me, and I ain't gonna start. So, um, I don't want this to happen, and I don't think that we should be afraid, but we need to have knowledge. We need to be cautious. We need to know what they're thinking. Like Reggie said, they got somebody in power who they can look up to. They get energized by his words. He tickle their ear and they get motivated. So yeah, it might be something here, and it might be something that we need to look into. I don't know why other people in the government is not looking into it. We shouldn't be the first ones to put it out there. The FBI can look into to see what Julio Cesar Chavez is doing. They could see what El Chapo doing. And they can arrest them with no problem, or they can go find them or put APBs out on them or whatever. But I'm just saying, if they got the power to do this, Brother Marquise just brought this to the forefront. They can look into this. So if it's real and there's any kind of validity behind it, I think that our government needs to step in and do something. But that's okay. But we as 50 strong do need to put it out there and let other people know. And that's why we're going to be a powerful movement for the people of this country. And sooner or later, we're going to be so strong that people going to recognize us, all over the country. So, Brother Marquise, we appreciate you for bringing this platform. And now, Brother Alvin, it's on you.
Thanks, man. Thank you. I would just like to say that I think the one word that keeps coming up in my mind with all of this is the word entitlement. And the reason why that word is so strong is because often the word entitlement is used in reference to poor Black people who use public funds to help them out economically. And in light of the history that this country has, and the fact that slavery did exist in this country, and let's face it, slavery has existed throughout the course of human history. It's not exclusive to Black people in this country, and it's certainly not exclusive to anybody's particular color of their skin. But the fact is that when we dealing with problems in America, a lot of times what we do is we just like we use race to justify slavery, we use race to justify a lot of things that we're not happy with in this country. And so when it comes to our commander-in-chief, Mr. Donald Trump, I think, where he's concerned is that I think he's a master manipulator. He's what I call the world's greatest salesman, if anybody's ever read that book. And, Donald Trump does and says whatever he needs to do to get the deal. And that's his only goal in life. And so when he realizes that white men in this country walk around with a sense of entitlement because they feel as though this country is here for them, well, let's face it, they got here when they arrived here. We were already here. We had already been here for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years, but that's a whole nother subject. But the reason why I bring all this up is because it's very typical for someone who thinks that they're entitled to something to feel threatened wants that entitlement, once they feel like they're losing that entitlement. And that's the case that we have here, is that because there's a push for fairness among all races, which all races share this country, which makes it so unique in all the world, that you know, because there's a belief, there's this illusion throughout, you know, in our history that we're teaching our kids, and sometimes reinforce in an incorrect manner that that this country is for white men. And when a white man feels entitled to something that he feels threatened about, then he's going to react like that, just like any of us would.
So what we have, though, we have two or three, if not more, different factions that are poised to make some noise at the end of November, Super Tuesday in November. Once we'll find out who is going to be sitting in the big chair, a lot of people are going to get stupid, and I can agree with you. I mean, a lot of people feel like they're entitled to a certain thing, and everybody's been kind of swindled into that attitude. It's almost by design. And I say that also because, is it a coincidence that worldwide we have a phenomenon? It is, everybody worldwide is rioting. They've been rioting for 2, 3, 4 years, but now we're doing it kind of in mass. So I think that there's something other than what we see here in America that's coming on the horizon. But right now, this is kind of specific to the United States, because the problem with the United States is that people don't look outside of the country to know what's happening. Part of the reason why I am here is to let people know that there's something other than what you think is going on that's actually going on. And fellas, you guys can chime in if you like. Come on in. We're all together here. So
I'm glad you said that, man. Everyone has some great points. I want to point out a couple of things. I want to pick back up what Alvin said. First of all, I think I was interviewed yesterday, and they asked me a question about social justice in the schools. And I was being interviewed by a school association. Mm-hmm. And I asked them to explain to me what they meant by social justice. I don't think they did a very good job of trying to explain it. I knew what it was, what it meant, but I don't agree with it, because like Alvin said, so many of us are being deemed Black people because of entitlement programs, and they feel like we are the ones who are pulling America down. We're on these entitlement programs, and there's more white people on entitlement programs. They say to minorities, everybody is a majority, is a minority except the white man. People don't realize that when they say white woman is a minority, Asian, LGBT, everybody is a minority except the white man. Now, I want to be very clear when I say this. Every year during Black History Month, and randomly I do it during every month, I always post names of people who have helped the Black race. I've always, even white people, Levi Coffin, John Brown, I always post that, because we're all in this together. These people who are a part of these groups, these white supremacist groups, the Proud Boys and all of this stuff, they are in the minority, and we are allowing them to feel like they are greater than what they are. Now, we do have some closet racists, the ones you go to work with, you sit down, you drink coffee with them, and you laugh with them, but you never go to their house. So we do have them, but we have different degrees. And you have some people like the ones that stand up with their guns and all of this, and I believe they will try to do something. I honestly do. But, and this is a big but, we have to, like James said earlier, if they can find Chapo and all of the Mexican cartels who are bringing drugs in and everybody else, why can't they stop this? They can stop it if they want to. I'm gonna give you one more example. This is locally here to me. We got a place called Shockoe Bottom. Not 10 years ago, it was horrible. People go to the clubs down there, they would get shot, they was doing this, you couldn't do anything. They transformed that area. That is a place where everybody goes now, you're spending money, you're loving it, it's great. But the area that, certain areas in the city and the district that I'm in, been horrible for 20 years. So how can you stop one area from being bad, and you can't stop another one from being bad? That's the same thing with these white supremacist groups that's coming out and saying they want to kill everybody and they're against this and they're against that. They got beer muscles. And I think the government, but I do think this, the government is complicit if, like what James said, if they're not on it right now, they're not trying to stop it, or if they're perpetuating, they're just as complicit as the one who's wearing the gun, carrying a gun, so they're gonna kill black folks and they're gonna do all this.
So what about the other side? I mean, the gentleman, he spoke of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And I don't know if you guys have seen, but I think it was down in what was that, Kentucky or Cincinnati? Was it Cincinnati last month, where they had like 500 black men and black women dressed in all black marching down the street, looking like stormtroopers? That
was in Georgia. That was on what's Smoky Mountain? What's the big mountain there? Whatever. It was supposed. They were. I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually watched the video of them today, and let me share with you about that. And I was talking to a friend right before you come in. They the NFCA, something like that. I can't remember, but if you look at them and the way America portrayed black men, you look at those brothers. They got guns. It scares white America. It scares black America. Let's be honest with it. They dress in all black. Scares white America. Scares black America. Some of them had masks on. Scares white America. Scares black America. When you see a black man looking like that, I don't care where you are. You can be surrounded by the military itself. It scares the dickens out of you. Now, if you talk to them, and they got some rough language. They say a lot of the stuff that people say that's not on camera, and that scares people. But I'm gonna tell you one thing they said: brother, stop killing each other in your neighborhood. They say if don't start anything, don't be nice, be courteous. But if they if they do something, they put their hands on you, they said send them to the cemetery. That's something Malcolm X said. But that scares people when you hear that talk coming from a black man. Yeah. A black man that scares them to death. America, oh my God. But when you have a white boy on talking about guns, we're gonna do this. Oh, well, he's not so bad. He's just a country redneck, beer drinking, tobacco chewing, snuff dipping. So we don't give it that much credence. But no, it should get that much credence. Black people have been painted so badly in the media. And black people, they'll get in public and say, well, they get scared when they see a black dude with a hood on. But you should be scared when you see the white boy with the hood on. That's what I'm saying. We were painted in a bad light. Mm-hmm. We weren't painted in a good light, like what the white man was painted. Now I'm gonna say that and I'm gonna be quiet. Every black person is not an angel. Every white person is not a devil. However, we need to have these conversations and talk exactly what you're doing and be able to sit at the table. I tell people, I used to sit down with this skinhead all the time, and me and him used to talk. And people said, Reggie, you all pro-black? I said, I love black people. I love everybody, and I stick up for black people, and he love his white race, and he stick up for his white race. But there's no reason that we can't come together. I don't hate white people.
Well, let me ask you this. We have an issue that needs to be resolved, and I find it to where we don't necessarily have a race issue. I mean, we do, and the race issue that I recognize is the ignorance of white people, because they then would deny us our own history. They would tell you that you were not a slave. And they say, well, I wasn't a slave owner. You weren't a slave. In reference to reparations, they would say, You shouldn't get reparations because you weren't a slave and I wasn't a slave owner. However, there is a such thing called generational PTSD. There is a such thing as, you know, the government built laws to restrain us, our parents, our grandparents, great-grandparents, all the way back to once we got off the boat, if you will. And you mean to tell me, and I may have said this to you guys before, is that I find it incredible that on 9/11, people say we will never forget one day when Black folks have had 9/11 for 400 years. And they tell us, oh, you just need to get over it. You won't tell, or I should say most people won't tell a pregnant woman who's just lost her child, just get over it. You won't tell a soldier who just watched his whole unit get blown up and he has mental problems to just, oh, you just need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You'll be fine. You won't tell somebody like that to do that. But yet they constantly tell us, even though we have been historically, and I will throw systematically thrown into jail for a very long time. And even it blows my mind. I mean, that is probably the first problem that we have in this country, is that they deny us our own history. They deny us the opportunity to express our history. They deny us the conversation with them, to have them to understand our history. My wife would say, she would say something like this. She would say, in reference to children, I may have said this to you all. If there's a child and the child is scared of the dark, the fear is real to them. You know, just because you've been in the dark your whole life and it's okay with you. You can walk in there, no problem. You know what's up. But a child, you cut the lights off, child goes crazy because they're scared of the dark. Well, that fear is real to them. And you have to respect that fear for them. And so what we don't have a respect for the damages that has occurred throughout the generations. We don't have the respect for everybody going to prison because of over-policing. We become products of our environment that was set mentally, physically, and mentally by people that had control of us legally, treated us like animals. And some of the stories that you guys have heard in history are just absolutely remarkable. And one of the stories in our history is, you've heard of the carnival, to where they had a Black baby sitting up and you would throw the ball and try to hit the baby. They had a sign that says, hit the nigger baby. You know, you could probably win a teddy bear or some crap if you hit the baby. That's how they treated us. And yet we're told to get over it. You know, we've seen situations whereas our skin was used like cattle skin. They would skin us, use our skin to make shoes, like cowhide. And we're told to get over it. That's the thing for me that bothers me, is because we are denied that opportunity to, number one, to know that. Number two, once we find out, they're like, oh, it doesn't affect you. That's the thing that pisses me. That's the thing that would make any man want to rise up. And this does not even necessarily have to be in reference to race relations. It could be anything. If you tell anybody that they're not feeling what they're feeling, they're gonna rise up and lash back. And that's what this is.
You know what,
You know what?
Marquise? Go ahead, Malcolm.
Thanks, Reggie. If I could just say this, man, I think, bringing up that point, it's always a valid point to us. And because of that, we always walk this fine line between um, the reality of that and then the ability to move on ahead and look at the future and not reflect so much on the past. And the reason why I bring that up is because as an entrepreneur, that's one of the key things, the key ingredients to being a successful entrepreneur is just always look toward the future. You look at your past in reference to any of the failures that you may have had that you can learn from. Now, when it comes to our past and our history, we walk a fine line with that as well, because I remember a few years ago, there was a issue between my mother and I that she wanted. There was a TV show coming out, and I can't remember exactly what it was. This is back in 2016, and it was about slavery. And she wanted my kids to watch it. I have 3 sons, and so at the time, I think they're 21, 18, and 14 right now. So you do the math. I can't do it all right now, but they were at that age back then. And for me, we were going through a rough time and whatnot. And I felt as though watching a TV show that reflected our history in that manner was, I'll be honest with you guys, tired and old news. That's the way I felt about it, because to me, I would rather see positivity about our history. I would rather see the real history. What America does and what media does especially is the media will frame your reality for you. And in that light, when it comes to history, our history is framed for us in a certain reality as well. Like I said, Black folks have been here long before any Europeans ever even knew that the earth was round. Black folks had developed a modernized civilization before white folks even knew how to live out of caves. These are facts. A lot of these facts are hidden. Why are they hidden? Well, because if these facts come out, if these are taught in school, well, then guess who would feel empowered? And so that's my point, is that do we really need to continue to reflect on these things, even though they did happen? The reality is that they did happen. But do we want to continue to reflect on that? Or do we want to start exploring our real history and start exploring and delivering that information to our kids and empowering ourselves as a people? And even furthermore, looking ahead at saying things like, we can't continue to do things symbolically anymore, because doing things symbolically has worked in the past. When you're working on a problem, you start working on the problem and it's like building a house. You got to set a foundation, or like a tree, it's got to take roots before it actually grows. And so when you're creating those roots, it starts a certain way, but then when it ends, what the final product is something that's much different. So the tree never looks like the seed in the end, because it goes through that transformation. So what I'm saying is that we're starting to make that transformation as a society. There's always been this a certain amount of support from white people, in this country, in our history, that has always had an aversion to slavery, that it wasn't accepted. And then of course there was the economic reasons for slavery. But yet, when we really look at slavery and look at our history in this country, we're only looking at just that history. What about the history of our people on this continent, in having developed modern civilizations before the Europeans?
You know, I think what is going to take place now is that this is the information age. And we really probably would need to flush out all of the history, all of it, and expose it, because it needs to be aired out. And we may wind up, I mean, we may have to go through the valley to get to the hill. And
well,
then once we get to the hill, we got to climb it and get to the top. But
there's
first,
actually a push for that right now, Marquise. Not to cut you off, but there is a scientifically there is a push for that right now. It's alternative science that's going on right now that a lot of white people are involved in proving that a lot of pre-existing theories are bogus and unacceptable, and that we need to figure out what actually happened in the past. Now, they're not going to go into the past in the same manner that we would, you know, for obvious reasons. But when it boils down to it, you know, I think what we're really talking about is the end of an empire. To be quite frank with you about it, it's a shifting.
Is that what this is? Is that what this is right now?
I think it's the beginning. Yeah, the beginning of the end of an empire. You know, we go through history. There have been many empires. Rome had an empire at one time. The British had an empire at one time. Right now, it's the West that really controls the economy of the world, which is the Americas. Now, a lot of people say that the British are still secretly in control of the empire. Who's really in control at this point? Who knows? But what I do know is that human beings, you know, by all intents and purposes, the things that we're doing right now are the same things we've always been doing. And war, fighting, capturing people, controlling people, one group of people overpowering another. Just looked at a documentary a few weeks ago about the Mayans and how Spain came over and basically slaughtered all the Mayans. And that's, you know, who the real Mexican people are, you know, are the Mayans. And so that history was somewhat lost. There's only a few of them left, and all the culture that comes along with that. And so, you know, I think when we take the time to really dig into that, and use that as a form of empowerment for our people, then that's when a real change is going to start to come along, and I see that happening now. So as far as any war, civil war, I don't so much fear that as I don't. That's not a real big concern for me, to be perfectly honest.
So between now and whenever the next president takes office, even if Trump wins, then I mean we'll find out November 3rd who won, or not. I mean, right now Trump is in the hospital. He is supposed to be in the hospital right now. I didn't look up the laws or anything, but if something happens to Donald Trump, the elections could probably be frozen.
So let me jump in for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go back to something you said that your wife said, and I want to expound on it about the kid in the dark. So I heard something similar to that. And the question is, the kid is in the bed and he thinks there's a monster under his bed. The parent comes in and says there's no monster under your bed. Who's right? Actually, they're both right. The kid truly believes that, and the parent knows there's no monster there. It's not until the parent constantly talks to their child and the child gets old and the child starts to understand before they realize that it's not a monster under the bed. That's the same thing that needs to happen with America. We need to bring both sides and talk. If you sitting down at a table and you sitting across with somebody and they call you a nigger, you can't get mad. You just got to take it, understand what that person is saying, And so you all can get the dialogue, leave the emotions in the closet. I'm a black man. I have no idea what it is to be a white man. I don't know what it is to wake up every day and be a white man. White man doesn't know what it means to wake up every day and be a black man. We think we know what it is for each other. We don't know that. The point that Alvin was saying, and I know the point where you was going with, but I am a proponent. You have to know your history before you know. That's what they're trying to do now, is whitewash our history and say they came over as indentured servants and they came willingly, and that's what the books are trying to whitewash now. I want the rough, rugged, and raw, the naked truth to be out. That's why when they pull them statues down here in Richmond, every time you ride by those statues, you look at Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis. They rape little black girls, 13 years old, and just torture the people, and they treated them like chattel. So I don't want to forget that. I want that to sting. I want us to know what happened. I want us to know what our history has brought us. I want us to know how strong we are. And I also want us to know, I'm telling you, I'm a big proponent of this. And I say this every time. And I forgot his name. He's the second governor of Illinois, but he was in Thomas Jefferson cabinet here in Virginia. He's from Virginia, white guy, and his slave owning family. And he went along with his father because he knew if he went against his father would take him out of his will and he wouldn't be able to get his share of the slaves. As soon as his father died, he moved to a free state and freed all of his slaves. So those are the histories that we don't hear about, we don't know about. And that's why we need to hear the whole gamut of everything. Last thing, Marquis, the election taken November the 3rd, whether Trump died, Trump lived, Trump sick, no matter what. And on January 20th, no matter what, unless Congress come in and does something. But yeah, the transfer of power gonna be January 20th, no matter who's in there and no matter what happens. But I think that's all a scam too. It's what they call an October surprise. It comes every October.
Brother.
So that's an October surprise. So
brother,
last thing, why would you give a president an unproven drug that's still in testing? Why would you give you ain't gonna give the president, hey president, you test this, the most powerful person in the world. If you don't die, then I guess we're okay. No, you don't do that. You don't get the president unproven cocktail. So that's just my piece.
James, what you got?
Just real quick, Reggie. I didn't want to suggest that I wanted to deny that history, that part of our history. What I was really saying is that our history needs to be much more expanded, because in America, that is the only focus on our history. But our history in America goes much, much deeper.
America won't do it, so we have to. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, so it's two things I want to say. First of all, if Trump did get this cocktail that Reggie said, and it works, let's just say it works, he comes out, he fully recovered, he will be the biggest proponent to push that drug like he did with hydroxychloroquine that don't fucking work.
Watch your mouth.
That shit. It's all economical for Trump. He might have, and this is how I'm thinking, he may have, this all might be a hoax, man. He trying to get out of debt. Hey, this man will go to the lowest of low to get out of debt. So look, he go in the hospital, he get this cocktail of drugs or whatever. Now he comes back out, and then he says, oh, I need y'all to try this drug because it works. You understand? So if he come out of this thing unscathed and he's still breathing, who would be better to push that drug than Donald Trump?
That is a very valid point. And that, as a matter of fact, that's one of those, I think you have your tinfoil hat with you. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. That's one of them tinfoil hats with the triple chin strap snap. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you. That's actually good. I was going to bring that up later, but that's valid, I think.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things going on behind the scenes and that's one of them that I don't even want to touch right now. My concern right now is that if anything does kick off 50 strong, how do we, I guess, broker a deal or change the narrative or turn the boat for all sides? Are we the ones who will be able to bring the sides together, which we probably should do it now, but to bring the sides together who are hell-bent on causing drama? We already know who BLM is. BLM, the movement, and BLM, the organization, is two different entities.
Yeah.
BLM, the entity, are unapologetically Marxist. And I don't know about you guys. Well, that's not American. You know what I'm saying?
You can't even mention Marxism without getting killed in America, getting ridiculed. Yeah, you're right. That's not American.
Yeah. So, and what they have done, and I'm gonna tell you guys, Black people have been leapfrogged at every turn because we were the ones in the street marching for equal rights, civil rights. Just give me a right. Just don't kill me. Stop beating me. We were the ones who did that. And yet who came behind us? You had illegal immigrants. You had the LGB, MTV, or whoever they call themselves now. And now you have the BLM all under the guise, covering themselves up in blackness, but they're not for us. They're for themselves. But they use us to push their own narrative. And so you can't even be Black without getting accused of doing something else that you're not even affiliated with. All because we've allowed these other groups to get in underneath of us and or to just completely leapfrog us all together to where now you have a freaking president who putting freaking candy stripes on the goddamn White House. That was the last president. And he was supposed to be Black. Supposed to be. But even he said that we're a nation of immigrants. From a Black man. Have you lost your mind? But that's what he did. So what do we do? What can we do? How do we speak to people? How do we convey a message of just calm yourself down before you shake crap up because when a civil war, if a civil war ever happens in this country, the only people who will win is the government. And once again, I'll bring this up. Worldwide, this phenomenon is occurring to where the people are taken into the streets and they're demanding change. And it doesn't even matter what their reason is to demand change. They're demanding change. And it is not by coincidence that everybody's around the world is happening at the same time. Personally, they're trying to usher in a different monetary system. They're trying to usher in like the New World Order. That's what I believe that's what this is. When you look at it when you step out of somebody say you can't see the forest through the trees. If you can step back far enough to see the grand picture of it, it's going to blow your mind because all of this stuff surely can't be happening all at once. So then you have to ask yourself, that's when you grab your tinfoil hat, and that's when you have to ask hard questions and think outside of the narrative that the media is painting. Because the media, I think you said it, Alvin, the media will paint a narrative straight up and down on special effects. Like for instance, people think the Proud Boys are a white organization. They are not. There are white people in it, but it's not a white organization. Their chairman is Hispanic. His name is Enrique Tarrio. So that narrative, and matter of fact, they just had a meeting, the Proud Boys, they just met with BLM yesterday or day before yesterday. So the narrative that the media that the media was painting, they're gonna have to do some homework. They're gonna have to go back and change it, because they was really just doing some crazy stuff, man. Just pushing this Civil War narrative. You know, just Donald Trump and he hates America and just white versus black. I mean, what do you think? I mean, now don't take my word for it. Whatever, Lord have mercy, whatever you do, don't take Marquise's word for nothing. Do your research.
You covered a lot, but I would say in relation to the economic part of it, it's the way that the economy works, the way that the global economy works. And the best thing I could recommend, if anybody wants to get a full understanding of that in layman's terms, is to go on to YouTube and look up something called the Zeitgeist Addendum. I'm sorry to cut you off, Reggie, but that's all I got for that right now. But without getting too deep into it, what were you gonna say, Reggie?
No, so I want to pick up on what Marquis said about the Proud Boys, and the leader, yeah, he is Hispanic. He's I believe Cuban, and most Cubans are Republicans. So I want to look at it like this. It's funny if you know, they know who we are. If Cuban, 99% of Cubans are Republicans. I don't want to stereotype them, but they are Republicans. And there are a lot of racism in the Hispanic community. Even when you take applications now, I'm a mortgage broker, it's across. You have, are you Hispanic? Are you white Hispanic? Or are you black Hispanic? So now.
Wait a minute. Tell me that's not on the application.
Oh yeah.
No, come on.
First of all, it's on the census thing, and it's been on every, I don't know how long it's been on the mortgage app. Well, they always been, since I've been doing mortgages, they've been on what color you are, and then they've broken it down maybe the last 15 years or so. Are you white Hispanic or are you black Hispanic? Absolutely.
That's all a function of the illusion of society. It's a function of control, and it's a way to track people. Why do we even need to know that? Especially for a mortgage application. It shouldn't even be asked on a mortgage application, to be honest.
So let me tell you why they asked it.
That's a redlining thing, isn't it?
And before I go into the details of it, I agree with you, Al. But they tell you that and I'm gonna come back to your redlining. They tell you that's on the application because for the Fair Housing Lending Act. So
yeah, exactly. I knew you were gonna say that.
They have enough black people are not being discriminated against, and this person here, this handicapped person. So that's what it's for. So that's what they tell you it's for.
Right.
And maybe that is what it. Maybe let's say they are, but some people are still victims of unintended consequences when they say, "Oh, well, we may not want to do this for this guy," and redlining supposedly be stopped. But that was something that was started by the federal government. And it's even out there, and they even admitted it was the government. It's not a lender. It's not the federal government is the one who started red.
Now what they'll tell you is that they did it because of all of the and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the meeting last week about how all the problems started up in Detroit with the redlining that goes on there, and how they built that wall to separate that black neighborhood from a new white neighborhood development that the guy wanted to do. But basically this all goes back to the massive migration from the Industrial Revolution. And when you had all the blacks and the white people coming up from the South, these were all former slaves and former plantation owner families and people who bought into that whole system and structure in the South, and now they're coming out west and they're going up north for all these great jobs, and everything from Henry Ford to World War II. And so because of that, they felt the need to go ahead and keep Black people separated from the white people just to ease the tensions. But as America got more integrated, that separation didn't serve any purpose. And we already know, I mean, they could say whatever they want, but anytime you intentionally separate people, you just asking for trouble. Now, there are articles that you can look into that I've already looked into, and we've had these conversations before, Marquise. When I'm about to respond to somebody on Facebook, I always do my research, and I'll even throw the article in there just to let them know this is really what we're dealing with. This is the history, because that's the biggest thing about Black people and white people is that, for one, white people don't have the same information that Black people do. That's just a straight up fact. If they had the same information, they wouldn't ask us so many silly questions all the time, and they certainly wouldn't deny us of the history that we bring up, which is all we want is just acknowledgement. We ain't trying to ask nobody to pay us no reparations and all that. Me personally, I'm not asking that, and I know.
Well, I'll tell you like this, bro. If they promise the money, I want my money.
Well, I can tell you this though, Marquis. Look, I would want my money too. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be like Dave Chappelle, be like Tron, the richest brother in playing the crap game. But the reality is that, look, honestly, do you honestly believe that the federal government would want to give Black folks all of that money?
Well, I'll say this. I'll say this. How some of these groups are behaving, they understand that the federal government is not going to give anything. It's like going to your master and be like, yo, buy me a car. You think he gonna do it? No. So you literally, you're gonna have to either just do it yourself or just take it. Right. And these groups are just hell bent on, well, screw that. We tired of waiting. We just gonna take it. And
let me say this, Marquis. So I agree with you. But the federal government, and 84, 86, I can't remember, Reagan gave reparations to the Asians for Vietnam, and I'll pull it up. If my dates is in the 80s, and it was Reagan.
Yeah, pull that up.
Gave them reparations, and so my question I know you're the host, but my question to the group: why did one segment get reparations, and the other population who came over here, to go back to your Obama comment, everybody are immigrants except for Black people and Native Americans. So you're right, we are not immigrants. So we were stolen and bought over here. So why weren't the people who were stolen, the children of the Middle Passage, given reparation?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to throw another question on top of that. Something that's that could probably hit home to a lot of people that are going to hear or see this. And the deal with the Boy Scouts. If you were a Boy Scout and you got molested, same thing with the Catholic Church. If you got molested or whatever, there are attorneys that are looking for those people just so they can sue. Well, and forgive me to whomever's going to hear this, and it may sound a bit crass. Why don't they just get over it?
No, I get what you're saying.
You don't get no money. You need to just get over it and move on.
That's what they're
I get what you're saying.
That's it. That's exactly what they're telling us. Now this goes back to my previous comment about understanding how the economy works and how the global economy works, and in particular how the American economy works.
And the fact is that every time we print up more money, everything seems to go up in price, when the actual reality is that the dollar is losing value.
Losing value, yeah.
So milk doesn't cost $3 because it's more expensive to milk a cow.
Right.
What's going on is that there are more dollars in the system, in circulation. Therefore, each unit has less value. It's like economies of scale. When you're producing a product, if you're producing one or two of them, like a Lamborghini, you're going to charge a lot of money. But when you're producing a Ford Focus, you don't have to charge that much money because you got a whole bunch of them coming off the line every 2 or 3 minutes. So that's what we're dealing with when it comes to reparations, is that if that much money was issued at one time, then that could crash the American economy. But here's the funny thing about the American economy. It's already propped up and it ain't real anyway. Now, when you can create dollars out of thin air, what's real about that? But that's a whole nother issue. But that's what actually goes on. And that's how the rest of the world is affected by the things that we do here, because there's something called the World Bank, which is basically married to the same people that run the Federal Reserve. And this is just literally just companies that just print money. The only difference is that the World Bank does it for the United States and a few other countries that run off of the dollar, and then the World Bank just does it for the rest of the world. And every time more money goes in the system, and if an economy gets too much money in the system, or one person has too much and then starts spreading that money out, and then all these people are starting to get money, well, that's going to create a disruption in that economy, because every economy has to have what they consider to be balance. And those are all the different systems that are created to create that sense of economic balance. And so these are the types of things that we need to teach our people. And how to create money out of thin air. That's another thing that we need to teach our people. And that's something that Reggie actually teaches people when he gets them a mortgage. And you get the house, and then you live in the house for a certain amount of time, and over that amount of time, the house gains more value. Well, that money is not real. That's just money. That's just money on a piece of paper. Right. But then when the person goes into the bank and says, hey, I want to refi, that's when they actually pull that money out. That fake money now becomes real. And every time somebody does that, that fake money becoming real, that's more money that's not previously existing in the system. Now, it's an expansion of the economy, but it's also a tax on the, not a tax, but it's also creates more of a need for more dollars in the system, which then again creates more poverty, because every dollar has less value in the system.
All right, so hold it right there. James, you chomping at the bit, man. What you got?
That's a very good point. So that what Alvin was just saying was money out of thin air shit, excuse me, but money that's not real. Guess what? All these credit cards I got, that money ain't real. I got credit cards with $10,000, $12,000 limit. It's not real. I go to work every day. I go to work, and when I get my check, I never see cash. So is that money real? You know what I'm saying? So therefore, I can see where, you putting money into a property or whatever, and you got equity. That money ain't real. And I'm with Alvin on that 120%. That money is not real. But when you go do a refi, whatever the case may be, and you say, well, look, I got $35,000 in equity, and they get a loan for $25,000. Okay, we're going to base that on the property that you own. Then they give you $25,000 and put it in your account. Now, if you go pull that out, it'd be $25,000 in cash. Just like Alvin said, you put money into the economy. Now the value of the dollar comes down. That's economics 101, man. And
that money,
huh?
And that money you pull out, what a lot of us end up doing going to buy more retail products, right?
So with all that being said, because we have to bring this back around to how we got started. So is the remedy to avoid a cataclysmic breakdown of society, is the remedy strict economics?
Yes, and let me say a couple things. So what James and Alvin is talking about, this fiat money, that's what they call it, fiat money that's not real. So what makes it not real? And I think it was Nixon, when they didn't have, when the gold does not back the money anymore. I think it was Nixon who did that.
1971 took us off the gold standard.
Yeah, and that's what made it not real anymore, so they can print this money up in thin air. But comes to your question, it goes back to what Alvin just said. What do we do when we get this money? We blow it on things, like when Bush did Obama did it, and Trump did it too. The stimulus package, and I think Bush gave you $100 or whatever, I can't remember. But everybody bought stuff that wasn't something that can help them capitalize on it. They didn't invest it. They didn't go and buy a house. They didn't seek something. They didn't invest it in themselves.
Or use it to pay rent in some cases.
So when you don't do that, and I'm coming back to you, Marquis, if a person is uneducated and they are not getting a living wage, and uneducated not mean that they don't have a diploma or college or something like that. They are just susceptible to whatever they hear. That's what I mean when I say uneducated. Whatever the way the wind blowing, that's the way they're going. That's how they know they can control the people with money. That's what they do. Money, it will control a person any kind of way. So with these groups like Candace Owens, Lucas, whatever her name is, I forgot the lady. The black lady get up there and talk about everything is bad and all of this, and Republicans are bad, and Republicans are great, and black folks are this, and she's paid for that. And she's paid to do those things. We have to follow the money and be able to create our own money, where we're going to talk about 50 strong. We need to create our own wealth. We're probably still using their money, but our wealth, and turn our money over and over in our neighborhood. So we have the power. Once you have that power, that money, and you have a coalition of people behind you, then you can control everything. I was talking about the World Bank, control right here. All of this countries all over, part of it, but it's in DC. But they know what they're doing. The headquarters is in DC. The IMF is in DC. They're doing all of this stuff. They know how we think, and they know how we act. They know how we respond. They know about we put you in certain neighborhoods. We know this neighborhood is going to act like this. I'm going to say one more point. I'm going to be quiet. They, on that interview I had yesterday, they asked me about schools. And I live in 23224 zip code. Schools are poor. But if you go to another part of Richmond, different zip code, the schools are great. How in the same city, we all paying the same taxes, we have dilapidated schools, poor teachers? It is by design. You said it earlier, Marky, systematic. It is by design. You should be able to take your kid from any school in the city and do not worry about your educational educational wherewithal or performance from the teachers presented to the kids dropping. And that's the same thing with anything else we're doing. So this, like what you said, the Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the Proud Boys, and all of this stuff, a lot of this stuff is exacerbated and blown up in the media to get you riled up. 99% of people never even heard of Proud Boys. I didn't until
I didn't either. I didn't either.
A lot, and I know you. I researched, I read everything. I want to be on point. I never heard of Proud Boys until that night. Never. I'm done.
So
I think they've been around since at least 2019.
Okay. Never heard of them.
They're not new. I think they are relatively new.
Right.
So Reggie, you bring up this whole thing about the districts, and that you got one area that's sitting over here that's poor, and then right next to that, you got another one that has some wealth. And I'm sure you got Black folks and some other minority groups that are living in that wealthy area.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not as many of us, but I know that in major cities, especially in your area, that it's got to be a lot of us. And that's part of the problem too, because what the police do is they focus on the areas of poverty because those people have less power. Just like you could redistrict, redraw a district, you could redraw zip codes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to redraw the zip code to make sure that all your money stays in your area because that's where you pay taxes, and then you make sure that you use the grocery store down the street from you instead of the one a mile away, and you use the gas station down the street from you instead of the one a mile away. Well, they're making sure in those upper middle class and the middle class areas that they're turning those dollars over. And the more you turn that dollar over in your own city, in your own economy, then the more wealthy that area will be. And the other area where they're probably getting more government funds, they don't own any of that property. So they're not getting the benefits of property ownership over there. Whereas in the other area, they are. They're paying the taxes. And those taxes are contributing to the city's coffers. And the city says, oh, thank you, wealthy area. And to make sure that we say thank you, we're going to make sure that we focus on these people over here and keep them out of your area. So we'll just keep harassing them to make sure that you can live comfortably over here. And what you're actually doing is oppressing these people over here, even the kids, because these kids that got to go to school and get educated have parents. Mm-hmm. And if you constantly throwing their dad in jail,
right,
and they dad got to pay the bail, and now you got to pay this probation officer fee. Oh, and then you got to take the, probably the drug counseling class or whatever the case may be. Now you're putting more stress on that area. You're putting more anger and emotion on those people over there. And then added to the fact that these kids aren't getting the best books. They're not getting the best teachers. They're not getting the best facilities because they're not paying into the tax base. They are paying into the tax base every time they go to the store, every time they pay their rent. Unfortunately, let me take that back. When they pay the rent is going out of the area. Why is the rent going out of the area? Because they may not own the building. And you can certainly best believe that the person that owns that building is not living in that area. And they're probably not keeping up with the building that great because they're only going to do what what they have to do in a lot of these cases. And not like some of these investors that I deal with that actually give a shit about the way that they properties look and how well their people are living. So there's a lot. There's a lot to unfold when it comes to stuff like that. But the problems that you have in that district over there, and like you said, it's all by design. When I go through the streets of Detroit and I see where they're choosing to do the development and the areas that they're choosing to just leave as is. Now they've torn down a lot of houses out there. So now you've got neighborhoods that have lots that are, 4, 5, 6 houses that are, vacant lots, but they're still trash on the street. There's still, rubble here and there. There's problems. Whereas these other areas, they're getting everything that they need. So, and I got to go pretty soon, fellas. I apologize. I'm supposed to be at my niece's birthday party, but
shame on you.
But I know, bad uncle, man. but this is something that because Reggie brought it up, and it feeds into why we have the frustrations that we have, and then going further, how that affects how we react to a lot of things and how we can be so reactionary to those entities that want to create that reaction from us so that the other side will react. And then all of a sudden you got all of us fighting each other and we're not focused on who the real enemy is.
And once again, it would seem to me that the real enemy is the one who will reap the benefits of any kind of civil unrest, and that would be the government. And since, once again, because this stuff is happening globally, there's going to be a global unification of government that will make everybody feel like they did something. And it's if you are close to reading the Bible, it tells you that this is not something that we want, a global government. And I find that pretty interesting that we are in that time right now. And so you'll get these, in America at least, the racism is the thing that will light the flame, because they know that we're coming up, and all they have to do is throw a little racism in and just mess everything up, you know, and they don't want us to win. I mean, that's okay. I mean, when you're on top, you don't want, if you're the big brother, you don't want your little brother rolling over top of you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, either way, in closing, guys, because I know you got to go, but
well, let's not forget there's still some of that those feelings of Nat Turner coming back too. I mean, I'm sure that's got to factor in.
Yeah, no doubt. But let me throw this in. We got like 9 minutes left, and we can make this one real short. Now, I've seen a lot of people celebrating with Donald Trump going into the hospital. At least that's what people say. People are out here celebrating, wishing death on this man. And I wanted to ask you guys, how do you feel? Do you even celebrate the death of a man? Because I'll tell you where I stand. When, who was it? Bin Laden? When they snuffed him out, I remember the cheers. When Gaddafi got snuffed out, I remember the cheers. I remember the cheers when all of these people get snuffed out. And for me, even though I was in the military, even though there are times when you have to raise a weapon and defend yourself, you do not celebrate the death of anybody. And to see people out here, let me tell you how interesting it is. It is so interesting out here that you have witches praying and conjuring up spirits to go against the president. And the same thing, and not just Trump, this is any president, but you hear it more with other presidents than you would with, some others. But I've heard of people conjuring up spirits to go against Donald Trump, to take him out. And when he went to the hospital, there were a lot of people out here laughing, high-fiving, and saying, I hope he don't make it. Do you all prescribe to that type of behavior, that type of attitude?
So my answer is going to probably cost me the election, or it may win me the election. And I'm going to tell you which one weighs out the most. When I heard it, first of all, I think it's fake. I don't even believe it.
Thank you.
But let's say it is. I was ambivalent. And I'm going to tell you why. I wasn't wishing death on it, but I wasn't on my knees praying for him to get well. So let me put it like that. The reason I say I'm ambivalent for the exact same thing, when Gaddafi, they were beating him and begging for his life. And it was a great thing when he went in there and got Osama bin Laden. And I know all of the bad things that they have done. I know that. And I remember when, this is part going to probably cost me an election. I remember when they went in and got Saddam Hussein, and it was about to hang him. During his trial, and they were about to hang him. And me and my sister looked at him like, that's the leader, because he was about to get hung and he was still talking, or he wasn't all begging and passive. He was still strong about you know, he went out like what we would say a man. You got to be careful when you say these things today because of the Me Too movement. I'm with the Me Too movement. I don't want to get messed up with that. But he went out strong. And the reason I say that, I think, I know this. Trump to me is a coward. There's so many things that I don't like about him, and so many things he did. The 200,000 people who died before him, and he had no remorse for those people. So the way I was raised is to, you know, don't wish any bad on anybody and hope everything go well. So my answer to that is, the way I was raised, I want him to be well. But the way I feel, the way he treated other people, the Bible said an eye for an eye. So that's why I say I'm ambivalent about the way I feel. I'm not going to say I'm going to get on my knees and pray for him, but I'm not going to say go ahead and pull the plug on him either. That's my answer.
Well, I had the same discussion with a young lady at work today. My thought is, if he live, he live. If he die, he die. But I'm with Reggie on the first thing that Reggie said. I think it's fake. I think it's fake. It's all, to me, is a hoax. It's all political. Everything this man does is calculated. Now, if you guys believe that he got the coronavirus, that's good. If y'all believe that he don't got it, that's good too. But what I'm saying is everything this man does is calculated. Now, they saying all these other people got it as well. Well, if you don't follow what science say, you're supposed to get it. So why did it take this long for him to get it? This is my question. None of them motherfuckers was wearing no mask 2, 3, 4 months ago, and now all of a sudden they got it? Think about that for a minute. They just now getting it? 6, 7, since March. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 7 months later, now all of a sudden, they got it. But everybody in the world was catching this stuff. Now everybody is saying that these people got coronavirus. Okay, they may have it, but the point is, was it calculated? Was it calculated? Is this stuff is not methodical, or I don't know, maybe it's divine intervention. I don't know what it is, but I tell you what, if he make it out, like I said, it's all about this economic. He probably telling his goddamn kids or whatnot, hey, go invest in this product or whatever. Don't put my name on it, but look, we finna get rich. I'm gonna pay off all these investors that I owe, and this is how I'm gonna do it. So, I mean, you can take it for what it's worth. You know, I think he playing games with us. Because guess what? His doctors ain't saying nothing that we really want to hear. They ain't giving you full disclosure. And what I'm going to say right now, I ain't going to say it's going to get me in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can't see behind them walls in Walter Reed, where he at. He got a whole wing to himself, okay? Nobody else ain't back there but Trump, his doctors, and all the people that he want to come back there.
You're assuming, you're assuming that he's actually there.
Walter Reed, right? He may not even see Walter Reed.
I believe that there's something else going on that I can't talk on camera about. But Alvin, go ahead and give us walk us out there, Alvin. What you got?
Well, honestly, I'd have to agree with all of you. I mean, my personal feelings, I'm pretty indifferent to it. You know, when I think about just, you know, how everything, you know, like what James was just bringing up, he was, you know, doing all these rallies and speeches and everything, and then here it is right up until a few weeks before the election, and all of a sudden, you know, I could see this kind of playing out, a story about how he made this triumphant comeback from this disease that's trying to ravage the country. But hey, here's our president standing strong. And I'll be honest with you, man, I was asked this question a few months ago by somebody I was mentoring in investments. And she asked me who I was going to vote for. And I said, well, honestly, I said, we're talking about two wealthy and powerful white men. Let's just put it out there.
Don't forget old.
And old.
Yeah.
And old. Okay. So you're really looking at the same person. But if I had to make a choice between the two, I look at it in two different ways. So I could, one, I said on one side, I got a real estate investor. I'm a real estate investor. I know what I know, and I've only been doing it for 3 years. So I can only imagine what he must know, what kind of tricks he can pull out of his back pocket to keep things moving in a direction that would actually be beneficial to me and for our people, especially in the light of what our organization is about to start doing and making that push to start getting real changes going on for Black people in this country instead of a lot of symbolic change. And don't get me wrong, symbolic change is good because it does matter what you see, what the visual message is, but real change is those economic changes and policies that need to take place to give us some more advantages and getting us in the category of being owners instead of renters. The other part of it is that you don't have to guess what's on his mind. Let's be real about it. I don't know what Joe Biden is thinking. I have no idea what he's thinking. But I do know that Kamala Harris didn't like him 9 months ago. So take it for what it is. Take it for what it's worth. I mean, like I said, you guys pretty much took the words out of my mouth, so I don't really have much else to say with regard to that. I hope he gets well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, James.
That's what I was gonna say. Everybody wishing that he died, whatever. But guess what? It's no benefit if he died and Joe gets the seat by default. I'm gonna say it's by default. What good is that? Nobody's gonna believe in Joe. You know what I'm saying? But if he wins it with Trump being there in full capacity and he wins it, wouldn't he have more clout that way?
Look, let me say one quick thing before we go. So if Trump were to pass away, Pence is worse than Trump.
Yeah.
Pence is smoother, he's more apathetic, he speaks well, he knows the politics well. He is worse than Trump. So if you got witches and witchcraft people out there hinging, putting that stuff on that, you might want to rethink that before you let Pence get in these last few days or whatever the case may be. But now they will do something. Joe won't get it by default. It'll be some sort of election. Something will happen. But you don't want Pence in there. I'll tell you that now. I'll take Trump over Pence because Trump is ignorant. Pence is just too smooth. He like Goldie in the match. He's just too smooth.
All right.
Well, guys, look, we're going to cut it short right here, man, and I appreciate the time. You guys have been on for an hour and 25 minutes, actually an hour and 33 minutes, but we're not going to count that first 8 minutes. But I just, I'm looking on my phone. I'm trying to find a video that I really wanted y'all to hear, because once we got into this whole situation with Trump and politics of Trump. But and it's just a different video. When I find it, I'll just send it to you all. But again, guys, we have a lot that we need to consider over the next few months, individually for our families and as a group. So I mean, in closing, gentlemen, all I can say is be safe, armor up, pray, get yourself prayed up. Keep it, as the football coaches used to say, keep your head on a swivel, and don't get blindsided by stupidity, because they out here deep. And being somebody in the transportation industry, it is easily, it's too easy to get blindsided by foolishness. So a lot of that, man, is keeping yourself humble, limit that pride and limit that lip and limit that negative attitude, because when you let all that stuff flow, bad things happen. Bad things happen. So in closing, gentlemen, I thank you for your time. And Alvin, you need to go. You need to go to the birthday party.
I do. I do want to say, just, my message is always, people just educate yourselves on money and the topic of money, and get to know what the economy, how the economy works. Zeitgeist Addendum is a good place to start. It's on YouTube. It's free.
I've seen that.
Yeah, it does a really good breakdown. But that's just the beginning. We're gonna start putting some of these classes together. I know Reggie has had some material, and I've been working on some stuff too that I think could be some good beginning material to get people started with. But it's very important for us and our people to understand how money works.
No doubt.
How to manipulate it.
No doubt.
It's real.
James, any last words?
Hey, brothers, man, I want all of us to stay safe, stay healthy. Always keep in mind that it's always something bigger than us. Let's do something that's bigger than us. Let's do something for the whole Black community, Black and brown community. Let's take it to the next level. I'm ready. I hope y'all ready.
Mr. Ford, what you got? Any last words?
Thank you for allowing this conversation. We need more conversation like this. We need to make sure that your words and your radio station is heard nationwide, worldwide, so people can hear this. Whether they agree, disagree, we just need to have that dialogue. The words I like to say before I go, I love you, brothers, and I'm glad to be talking with a bunch of brothers that's read up, and speaking knowledge and knowing what's going on. We just got to pass it on to the other brothers and sisters. Thank you.
No doubt. Gentlemen, that is it. I appreciate you guys. And I'll try to clean it up as much as I can. As much as I can. This just might be one of those raw and uncut deals, man. You just gonna have to go with it, because but a lot was said and so much. And that was just one or two topics, and we just kind of did a figure eight and hopped on some other stuff, man. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys taking the time out on a Saturday night, nonetheless. I appreciate it.